Alrighty, here we are. I'm Jessica, Dance Director with Pampered Chef, and welcome to Mountain Movers call number 2. And tonight's call is basically, each call is going to piggyback on the last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to turn my phone over, otherwise it's going to distract me.
Okay.
Call number 2 is piggybacking off of call number 1. So there was a whole...
Dan, is that your dog? If so, hit mute.
No, it's mine.
That's your dog? Okay.
My dog. My dog.
Okay, we can't mute you. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
She hears me talking. She knows I'm on the phone or something. So, sorry. Let me,
Okay.
I can at least close the door. So hold on a second.
I thought her dog was much bigger than that. That sounded like a little dog. Got a very high-pitched bark for such a big dog. I was at a house yesterday for a party, and the world's most ridiculous cat was there. Literally the world's most ridiculous cat. It was like a really bad 2.5-year-old child.
Oh no, that's not good.
Jumping on people's heads, running up the chairs, knocking over drinks, purposely getting up on the table to bat things in head. It was a wild Indian. It was. I was laughing. I was like, "Thank God this isn't my house." It was ridiculous.
That was a cat?
It was a cat. It was the world's
Cats
worst
can be.
behaved
They can
cat.
be brats.
It went on for an hour. It wouldn't stop. Usually they do it for 3 or 4 minutes and they're done. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Okay, so back to our agenda. Let's rock and roll. This call's piggybacking off of call number 1, and it's going to, there was a whole point in your homework from last week, creating those lists. So this call, we're going to talk about working with those lists that you guys created, and we're going to go for no. We're not going to go for yes. We're going to go for no. Doesn't that sound exciting?
No. It is exciting. It is exciting, promise.
Okay, so I'm going to play a little audio for us to listen to.
I have a friend. Say hi.
I think I'm gonna.
That's a funny face you're making.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can hear it?
Can you hear Clara? Yeah, I can't see Suzanne. So.
Thank you.
Wouldn't think one simple word with 2 tiny letters could have the power to keep countless individuals from realizing their goals and dreams. But they do, day after day, year after year. What 2 tiny letters can do all that? N-O, no. In fact, it has been said that the word no has destroyed more careers than any other force on the planet. We believe this to be true because for many years it held us back too, but not anymore. Not only does the word no not have to debilitate you, it can empower you to achieve a level of greatness you've never dreamed possible. Hello, I'm Richard Fenton.
And I'm Andrea Waltz, and we're the authors of the best-selling book, Go for No. And we're honored to be able to spend the next few minutes talking to you about our favorite word in the whole world, the word no. Now, some people think that's a bit strange, someone having no be their favorite word. But by the time we're finished, we think that no just might become one of your favorite words too. Let's face it, everyone loves the sound of the word yes. It's so positive, so empowering. And then there's no. For most people, no is just the opposite. Negative, draining, the antithesis of yes. But what if everyone's wrong? What if no could actually be the most empowering word in the world? What if you could achieve every quota, hit every income goal, and reach every personal dream by simply learning to hear no more often? Well, you can. The problem is that most people tend to think that yes and no are opposites, with yes being good and no being bad. Well, they're not. Yes and no are not opposites. They are simply opposite sides of the same coin.
Now, I learned this lesson many years ago when I was working for my father in the automotive fleet business in Chicago. You see, my father was a sales legend in the car business, the quintessential sales natural who could start a conversation with anyone, anywhere, anytime about anything without any fear or hesitation. In this regard, I am not my father's son. And after a rough start in sales where I failed miserably, I quit my job and moved from Chicago all the way to Los Angeles to get as far away from selling as I possibly could. The funny thing is, when I got to LA, the first job I took was in sales. But this time I took a job in retail sales because I thought in the world of retail, I wouldn't have to go out and prospect for customers. The customers would be coming into me, but it didn't make any difference. I was still failing. And that's when I heard that the district manager, a man by the name of Harold, was scheduled to visit the store. And I thought, maybe if I can impress Harold during his store visit, they'll give me more time to improve my sales. Harold showed up about 9:30 in the morning. We had donuts and coffee. Then the store opened. And because I was the first person in that morning, I got to help the first customer. And in walks this well-dressed gentleman who announces that he wants to buy an entire wardrobe of clothing. And I thought, this is it. Here's my chance to impress Harold. And sure enough, within half an hour, I had an $1,100 sale, and I was certain that Harold would be impressed. And after a few minutes, Harold finally said, "Hey, that was a nice sale, kid." My chest puffed out. "Yeah, man, did you see that? $1,100. That was a good one, huh?" And then after a moment of silence, Harold asked me a question that would literally change the course of my life. He said, "Out of curiosity, Richard, what did that customer say no to?" Now, I have to be honest and tell you that I got a little mad. I mean, I was trying to impress this guy, and here he is asking me what the customer said no to. But when I stopped and analyzed the sale from beginning to end, I realized the customer hadn't said no to anything. Everything I showed him, he said yes to. I said, "Harold, the customer didn't say no to anything." And then Harold asked me the other really great question. He said, "Then how did you know he was done?" Wow, a great question. If the customer had never said no to anything, how did I know he was done? And then it hit me. You see, I had never spent over $1,000 on clothing on myself in my life. To me, at that point in my life, $1,000 was a tremendous amount of money. And it never crossed my mind that someone might be willing to come in and spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000. So when you got to my mental spending limit, hey, you were done. Harold said, "Richard, I watched you sell, and you're not half bad, but your fear of the word no is going to kill you." And then he added the final magical words, "But if you could just get over that, I think you could become one of the great ones." It was amazing. I'd gone into work that morning thinking they were going to fire me, and I went home that night with 2 letters from greatness. And the letters were N-O, no. Now, while this is my story, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. It is likely that my story is, at least to some degree, your story too. Because most people spend their careers seeking success, the yeses, while doing everything within their power trying to avoid failure and hearing no.
The truth is, for many people, the very idea of hearing no and risking failure and rejection is enough to stop them dead in their tracks. Success, on the other hand, is an often mythical, nearly magical concept for the majority of people, a lifetime pursuit. After all, who doesn't want to be seen by others as a success, not to mention all the stuff that comes with it? This is why so many people will do virtually anything and sacrifice so much to achieve it, except, of course, everything but be willing to hear no more often.
And therein lies the rub. To achieve meaningful success in life by virtually any standard, You must be willing to hear no more often. There are no exceptions to this rule. There are no shortcuts. And the more significant the success you achieve, the more numerous the no's you will hear. One of our favorite stories is about a young man who approached Tom Watson, the then prominent CEO of IBM, and asked how he could become more successful. Watson responded matter-of-factly, "Double your failure rate." And Watson was right. To reach your full potential in business and in life, you must stop thinking of yes and no, of success and failure, as being opposites. If you want to achieve outrageous levels of success in your life, the choice is never yes or no. It's yes and no. Yes and no are a package deal.
The problem, of course, is that most people don't like hearing the word no. It doesn't feel good. It feels bad. And things that feel bad are things we tend to avoid. But if you're avoiding opportunities to hear no, you'll also be avoiding opportunities to hear yes. It's a challenge for which there is only one solution. You must reprogram the way you think about the word no. So let's start with a basic question. When you hear the word no, what does that no mean to you? How do you respond to it, both internally in your mind, what do you think, and externally in your actions, what do you do? This is important because it's this and this alone that ultimately spells the difference between long-term success and failure for millions of people all over the planet. Not age, not gender, not training, not skill, not the product or service being offered.
And it's not the economy either.
Nothing else but this. In fact, we're willing to go out on a ledge here and say that if you are not currently achieving the level of success you want in your life, you are probably not hearing the word no enough. The relationship you have with the word no, what you think and feel when you hear it, how you internalize and respond to it, and what you do afterward as a result, whether you seek opportunities to hear no or whether you run from them, is the single most important factor in determining the level of success you will achieve in your life.
But it's not just you. Most people do not fail anywhere nearly enough. In fact, most people spend most of their waking hours doing the exact opposite, spending enormous mental and physical effort trying to avoid failure with everything they have, a strategy guaranteed to produce average results. One of the greatest ironies in life is the fact that winners fail more often than other people, not less often, more often, because they understand that intentionally increasing your failure rate, in other words, intentionally increasing the number of times you hear no in your business and in your life, is the greatest success strategy in the world.
If you're willing to increase the number of times you hear the word no, you will find that the yeses you need to be successful will show up at your door, sometimes in greater quantities than you ever could have imagined. But for this to take place, you have to have patience and persistence to stay in the game long enough for the law of averages, the numbers game, to work in your favor, because there is virtually nothing you can't achieve if you are willing to hear no often enough.
Here are some retirement statistics that should serve as a wake-up call for all of us. By the time most people retire, 36% will have already died. 6% will simply continue working, many well into their 70s. And a staggering 53% will be dependent on friends, relatives, and the government or charity for their survival. Well, if you do the math, you realize that only 5% of the population will be able to retire without assistance. And who do you think gets to be in the lucky 5%? The people who failed the most. The ones who heard the word no the most in their lives. That's who. Pretty ironic, huh? The problem is that most people think failing leads to failure. It doesn't. Failure leads to success. Unless, of course, and this is a big unless, you quit. Because failing and being a failure are two very different things. And what's really exciting is you don't need hundreds of yeses to show up in your life. Just a few. Just a few of the right people saying yes is enough to change your life.
Now, our experience, there are a certain percentage of people listening to this who are thinking, increase your failure. That's an interesting theory. Well, let us assure you, this is not a theory. This is proven fact. Achieving increased levels of success by intentionally increasing your failure rate works. And after a decade of teaching people the Go for No philosophy and principles, we've got the track record and testimonial letters to prove it. So if you approach what we're telling you here as an interesting concept that might be worth a try, you'll be robbing yourself of the results and the life you deserve.
So one of the big questions people ask is this strategy of increasing your failure to increase your success something that will work for anyone? Well, it doesn't just work for anyone. It works for everyone, because success isn't really about your IQ so much as it is about your NQ.
As you already know, IQ stands for intelligence quotient. Interestingly, the vast majority of people do not know what their IQ is, but that's okay, because knowing your IQ, or for that matter, having a high IQ, is not all that critical when it comes to the level of success you will achieve. The number that really matters in business and in life is your NQ, or no quotient. The number of times you are willing to hear no before succeeding. The number of times you are willing to get knocked down and then get back up, knowing full well that you are almost certain to get knocked back down again. That is the number that determines greatness in today's world. Perhaps the only number, because the history of the world's greatest people, the movers and shakers and doers, is in fact a collection of stories of people with high no quotients. Because when you look at the great success stories of our time and you peel away the outer layer, the glitz and glamour of what is seen on the surface by the general public, what you discover are stories of what we call successful failures. People like Colonel Sanders, Walt Disney, Dr. Seuss,
John Grisham, R.H. Macy, Debbie Fields,
Thomas Edison, Katie Couric, J.K. Rowling. Behind each of these people is a story of persistence, tenacity, and a willingness to experience failure and rejection uncommon by any standard before success was eventually achieved.
Here's the reality of the situation. The number of people you approach with your product or service, the number of sales and opportunity presentations you make.
In other words, the number of shots you take
is the most important factor when it comes to achieving success. Far more important than your IQ or any other factor you can imagine.
Now, usually people are thinking, yeah, but I bet they were all great salespeople. I'm not a salesperson. Well, we have some more great news for you. Most of the people we just mentioned weren't great salespeople either. In fact, most of them had never sold anything in their lives, but they became successful anyway because they weren't selling. They were sharing their story.
What we mean, of course, is the story of your products, your services, and the business opportunity. You don't have to know how to sell to be a success. All you have to do is to be willing to share, even if you don't think you're very good at it. Because the quantity of times you share your message with others is far more important than how well you share it.
Anyone can be successful in business if they are simply willing to share their story with enough people and accept the fact that many of those people will say no in the process, but that enough will say yes to make you a success.
Now, you may be thinking, yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. Don't I have to have a smooth, polished presentation to be successful? Well, in a word, no. After more than a decade studying top performers in a variety of fields, we've come to learn that being smooth and polished is not the key to success. In fact, in many cases, being smooth can work against you. The best, most perfect presentation in the world is completely wasted if it isn't delivered, while the worst, stuttering, stammering, unfilled presentation you can imagine has a chance to create magic. It doesn't matter how smooth you are or whether you can answer every question someone throws at you. What matters is that you share the story of your product, your service, and the opportunity to as many people as you can, as fast as you can.
The problem is that many people spend so much time preparing and working on their approach that they never get around to approaching anyone. Somehow they're never quite ready enough. The best way to perfect the quality of your approach is to increase the quantity of people you approach.
If you are going to be super successful in anything, you are going to hear the word no, maybe a lot. But this is not the lesson we learned in school, is it? As kids in school, when we took a test, most of us expected to get most of the answers right. 70%, 80%, or more of the answers needed to be correct. Even when we flunked, we usually got half of the answers right. And therein lay the difference between school and the real world. In school, 50% is failing. But in the real world, 50% is outstanding, sometimes amazing. For example, in Major League Baseball, no one has hit 400, let alone 500, in half a century. And the same holds true for just about any field of endeavor. Insurance salespeople who earn well in excess of $100,000 a year usually average only 3 sales out of every 10 calls. Baseball players who go to the Hall of Fame fail to get on base 70% of the time. And the actor or actress who gets offered the part 30% of the time is virtually unheard of. This means that even the greatest in any profession fail and or hear the word no 70% of the time or more.
Now, admittedly, failing and hearing no isn't fun for most people, at least not until they discover how profitable it can be. So developing the willingness to have people tell you no, in some cases people you know and love, people whom you thought would definitely say yes, is going to require you to get outside your comfort zone a bit. In fact, depending on your current programming around the word no, it might require all the courage you have, at least at first. But as all extremely successful people eventually learn, courage is not the absence of fear. It's acting in the face of your fear. It's being afraid of something and then taking action and doing it anyway.
The funny thing is, as kids, we weren't fazed at all when we heard the word no, were we? We shrugged it off. We laughed at it. We simply ignored it. For example, every Saturday morning in grocery stores all across America, you can hear kids passing right through failure and taking no in stride on their way to success. Billy, can I have a cookie, Mom? Mom, no. But I want a cookie. No. Please, can I have a cookie? No. Please, I said no. Pretty please with sugar on top? No, no, no. Why can't I have a cookie? Because I said so. But why? The mother finally says, listen to me, young man. I am not going to say this again. The answer is no. And then about 10 seconds later, Billy says, Mom, I want a cookie. And Mom says, oh, for heaven's sakes, just one.
Have you ever witnessed this? Sure you have. And the thing is, not only does Billy get his cookie, but he has learned one of the greatest lessons in life, which is no doesn't mean never. No means not yet. But somewhere along the line, this natural sense of tenacity gets lost. Or worse, it was drummed out of us. Now, we're not saying that as adults we should act like spoiled brats, but what if starting today you could get that tenacity back? What if starting today the word no stopped stopping you? And what if each and every no you encountered in your life actually made you stronger, more powerful, more resilient, with each and every no leading you closer to a thriving business, a growing income, and ultimately the life of your dreams?
Here are some more statistics you need to know. In fact, if you weren't already taking notes, grab a pen and jot these numbers down and commit them to memory. 44% of all salespeople give up after hearing one no. 22% more give up after hearing a second no. 14% more give up after hearing a third no. 12% more give up after hearing a fourth no. This means that 92% of all salespeople give up after obtaining only 4 no's from a prospect. Yet 60% of all customers say no 4 times before they finally say yes.
Well, it only takes some quick math to see that if 92% of people have packed up and gone home after 4 no's, but 60% of the business is still out there, waiting to be shared by the 8% of the people who are still in the game. And make no mistake, it is a game, a numbers game. But most importantly, it's a game you can win, because no doesn't mean never. No means not yet.
A few years ago, we sat in an audience at a major conference and watched as a well-known motivational speaker proclaimed that the most empowering word in the English language was the word yes. Then he had everybody stand and chant, yes, 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 at the top of their lungs. And we have to admit, the energy was flowing and it was all very motivating indeed. The problem, of course, was that he was absolutely, positively wrong. Because the most motivating and empowering word in the world is not yes. The most empowering word in the world is no. Why? Because hearing yes is the easy part. While the yeses eventually pay the bills, it's learning to hear no that builds character.
It's hearing no that builds self-esteem.
It's hearing no again and again and again without quitting that makes us who we are.
Now that's empowering.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation. Should you wish to further your development and turn no into a powerful positive in your business and your life, or for more information on Richard.
Okay. Who's ready to get some no's?
Be amazing. Be amazing.
You got your Wahoo button there.
I do. Okay, so as you can imagine from that little recording we played for you, we are going for the word no. So what we would like to discuss is those lists that you made during the week this week. We want you to work off of those lists. We want you to basically think of it this way. For probably about every 10 contacts that you're going to make, you will get 1 yes, and you'll get 5 no's. I always like to suggest to, when you're working off of a contact list like that, that you start with the ones that you think will definitely say no. Because for a couple of reasons. Because you're expecting them to say no. So when they say no, you don't get that somewhat rejection feeling that you may feel. But when they perhaps turn it around and actually do say yes, then you're even feeling more accomplished. So I want to go over some of the word choices and stuff like that you guys can use. You have this information too in your packets. So your workbooks rather, the phone and text scripts. So let's talk about your own beliefs, because we talked a little bit about that. That was basically the call last week. So have you guys really thought into your own beliefs? Do you believe that you have a great service to provide to your hosts and guests and customers? Do you believe that the host program is fantastic? How about you, Clara? You believe that? Do you believe in the bonuses too that Home Office offers us, both to our hosts, our guests, in the terms of specials that they have for them, and also our sales incentives? So here it is, November 12th, right? It's November 12th today.
Mm-hmm.
We're just about halfway through the month. And do I have anybody on this call who has already earned their sales incentive for November. $1,000 in and you got 25 PC bucks.
I do.
Yeah, Suzanne earned it. Woohoo!
Woohoo, Suzanne. That's fantastic.
Amazing. Wahoo!
That's great. That's great. So, how's that make you feel?
She's talking to you,
It was
Suzanne.
exciting. What?
Exciting?
It was exciting, but it was a very encouraging.
Right.
It was very encouraging because a lot of these people said they were there to see the person's house and not necessarily buy Pampered Chef, but they all bought except for one person.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about, let's see, how to make your calls and what to say and what not to say. So having those beliefs behind you, you want to make sure your scripts are, and they don't necessarily, you know, have to be word for word script. You want these words to kind of like roll off your tongue. You want these words to be, you know, from you. I could write anything down and that works for someone else, and it may not work for me because it doesn't even sound like it's coming from me. So you also need to, you know, add your personality to your words too, because this is a relationship business. So at that very first point of contact with anybody, guest, host, customer, that's when you are starting to build that relationship. So when contacting, let's talk about getting these no's, working off of this list. So you have them labeled A, B, and C, right? Everybody did that. I forget though, Michelle, which letter represents yes, no, maybe, and then
A is yes, maybe is B, no, expected no is C.
okay. So you're going to start with your C's and work your way backwards. And then with the additional thing that you were supposed to do with these lists too was to just put like a star right next to people. Was it a star next to the
heart?
names?
A heart. Yeah, either one is fine.
Okay, star, a heart for the people you feel would be a good fit for this business that could use some life changing in their lives. So that's awesome. So this is probably really good list for you guys to work with. So we do have awesome host specials coming up for both November, December, and even in January. So you guys, one of the other tasks that you needed to do last week was kind of organize your calendars, right? Didn't we say that? Okay. Just making sure. So make sure your calendars are organized so you know your dates that you're available for parties. And then you're going to contact your customer, your list, and the host specials for December. Clara, what would you say the host special is for December? Do you know?
I think it's 60% off any one product.
Yes.
They also have double bonus.
And Suzanne said they have double bonus.
That's January. Am I jumping ahead? That's January.
Yes, that's January. So fantastic. So then we have, of course, November, our current month, which is the Select Rock Rocks and that exclusive carrying case for our hosts, which is fantastic. I actually got an extra booking this month because of that carrying case myself. So home office really does give us the tools to get those bookings on our calendars too. It's up to us to lock it in, really. So let's see. You want to also with your conversations with getting these bookings and so forth, you want to do it in a fashion where, you know, you don't make it like that they're doing you a favor. You're doing them a favor by stocking their kitchens with some high quality products that they're going to have for a very long time, if not a lifetime, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some sample phone scripts, but definitely, you know, make them your own. So when you're making your phone calls, you want to be excited. Be excited. I have to apologize because I'm really tired tonight.
You're fine.
So my excitement really isn't shining through as much as it should be, but I am excited to be on this call and that we have all of you on this call with us too, because that shows some major dedication right there. So one of the sample scripts is, "Hi, this is Jessica from Pampered Chef. I enjoyed meeting you at Sally's party, and I wanted to reach out to you to tell you about our new recipes and products that I think you and your friends would love. I would love to help you stock your kitchen too, just like we did for Sally. I'd love to do a Pampered Chef party for you this month so that your friends can enjoy a fun hour or two. You know our host program is so super generous, and best of all, you get to pick what you want for free. What do you think?" So that's one of them. Does anybody want to, should we like kind of pick that apart a little bit?
Yeah.
So if I called you, Clara, with that, would you be excited? Would you be excited and want to talk more about getting a date set and some free stuff into your kitchen?
Yeah, because it's always fun to get together with your friends.
Yeah.
And I get to choose what I want as far as an item or set. That's, you know, that's great that I get to choose what I want and not, you know, be forced into something I may not want.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what the host special is. They just want to get together with their friends. So depending on who you talk to, you know, the host special doesn't really matter to them. It's more about getting together with their friends.
Right. Very, very true. Very true. So that's where you can also throw in, you know, different theme ideas to make it even sound a little more enticing and more fun to get the friends together, you know, like the good old wine, cheese, and chocolate or fajitas and margaritas.
Mm-hmm.
That's another favorite of mine. So that's another idea. But you can also do, you know, if they say no, the whole pattern of this is, you know, if they say no, just remember they're saying no to having a party, like a no thank you to having a party. They're not saying no to you per se. So you have to have that mindset. But if they say no to the cooking show, then you want to segue into about doing a catalog or Facebook party. Because as you guys know, the host benefits are exactly the same no matter what type of party that they do hold, other than fundraiser, of course. So you definitely want to segue into the catalog or Facebook party. In October, was it October? No, it was September when I looked at these numbers. In September, I had $3,000 more in commissionable sales for the month of September just in Facebook parties. So
Wow.
whether you're doing, and I think it was a total of eight Facebook parties. So whether, you know, you're doing $200, you know, meeting the minimums, you know, they eventually, they also add up. So if you do 6 Facebook parties in a month and they're all the minimum in sales, $200, you know, that's $1,200 right there just in 6 parties. So don't be afraid to overload those Facebook parties either, just to, you know, to get those numbers up too on your, on your stats. So then, of course, there will be those that also say no, thank you to every option that we have. So again, that could be because of timing, like just right now isn't a good time for them to do anything. So you always want to mention, that every month we do have awesome host specials, and you do know what they are at least 2 months in advance. So, understand that they're busy, give them that respect, of course, too. And then, thank them for their time, and then go into, if now is not a good time for you, would it be okay if I followed up with you again in 3 months, or, based on how the conversation went, what time frame you think sounds good to start with. And then lastly, also get in the habit of saying that, that you also love referrals. If they have any friends ever looking for Pampered Chef, please think of me and send your friends my way too, because I like to give out referral gifts also. So you want to grow your business. It's just another way to also grow your business that way. So me personally, when that happens, when I have someone contact me and they want to book a party, I don't know them. They said, oh, I got your name from my friend so-and-so. I give their friend $25 credit off their order from their party for the referral. So, because that's a party I would have never had if they didn't send that person my way. So it's all about, giving it back too. So then, of course, too, there's texting to your contacts as well. I always will do, your texts want to be like short, sweet, simple, and to the point. And I would suggest too attaching the image for the host special of the month that you're trying to get them to book for. And attach that. So like this one is very short, sweet, simple. The one that's in the workbook, it says, "Hi there, I've got 2 words for you: cheese and chocolate. Intrigued? Text message me back yes, and I'll call you tomorrow with details." And like with that, you can attach an image of like wine, cheese, and chocolate, kind of like the theme. Picture of your recipe that you make or 2 from a party with that theme, or just go ahead and attach the December host special with that theme. Obviously they know why we're texting them, right? But you also want to, if you're going to do Facebook messaging too, if you're going to Facebook message some friends that you haven't talked to in a while, sometimes it helps to kind of like Facebook stalk them first. Scroll down, go to their wall, scroll down their wall and kind of see what they've been up to for the last week, if they've shared anything personal in the last week, and then open your message, with that, like, "Hey Sally, oh, I see your son hit a goal at the soccer, like kicked a goal at the soccer game this week. That's so awesome." Something like that, just so, again, because it's about building relationships too. So with your leads, you want to also, don't prejudge. Although we're giving you A, B, and C labels next to these names, you don't want to prejudge anybody. Like, for example, you think, oh, this person, even though I wrote their name down, they're a definite no, and I'm not even going to call them. Call them. They may, if they don't book a party, they may know someone who is looking for a Pampered Chef consultant, or there could have been something, that they saw at a friend's house recently that was Pampered Chef, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's so funny you called. I was over at my friend Michelle's house last week, and she has these little bowls, these little glass bowls from Pampered Chef. They were awesome. I want to get some of those." And it could turn into just an order. So you don't want to exclude anything. So it's always, you know, you want to go through the feel, felt, and found formula. Let's talk about some objections. Now, has anybody gotten any objections recently, like at an event you may have been at or a party that you just recently did that you struggled a little bit with? Overcoming an objection?
Mm-hmm.
If you have one, share. Let's work on it. No one's got anything for me?
How about my house is too small?
My house is too small. Oh my God, I can do a party anywhere. I mean, obviously in the summertime, you can offer doing an outdoor party on the patio or deck. But especially this time of year when it gets to be cold out, and I get that, and personally for me, when I get that answer, I go, I can do a party anywhere, living room, dining room, bedroom, wherever you want. Doesn't matter how small your house is. And in fact, my very first $1,000 party was done in a 1-bedroom apartment. So it doesn't matter where you have your party or how big, how small. Anybody will still come. So that's one of the things I say. Do you have a good line for that too, Michelle?
You know, you don't need a lot of room. A lot of times people say my kitchen is too small. And I say the party doesn't have to be in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
We can put a folding table up in the living room.
Right.
We can pick your kitchen table up and carry it into the family room. People, if they're in a house, sometimes that's a really big kitchen and we're doing the party there, they start thinking they have to have a house just like that. But I'm like, no, you don't. The worst place I ever got to do a party was in a garage in July. No air conditioning. Don't want to repeat that. But other than that, I've done parties all different kinds of places and they're always fine.
Yep. Another idea to that too is you can ask them, what about work? Do you work? Do you have a break room? Do you have the flexibility at work where like I could come in and do a quick lunch show at work? Or some people who happen to work in banks, when the bank closes, you know, like maybe you could come in and do a quick demonstration right there for everybody that works at the bank. If you can't do lunchtime, instead you can do right after they lock the doors from customers. Maybe just the drive-throughs open. So those two tellers have to hang out. But that's just another option to offer. And then lastly too is co-hosting with a friend. If they have a friend that has that loves to entertain and she feels more comfortable doing it at their house other than her own house, that's just another option to throw out there, is co-hosting with a friend or a family member. So what other objections?
Somebody else throw one out.
Here comes Clara. She's trying to unmute.
People who say they don't have enough time.
They don't have enough time. I totally understand how you feel because I also work alongside doing this business, but there are so many flexible ways, to work around that. So I find that sometimes if you feel you don't have time, like, what do you got going on? Like, you can ask them, like, what do you have going on? Like, if it's they're planning for a birthday party, like sometimes when they say I don't have enough time, they honestly think that you're looking to schedule them next week.
Yes.
So you have to find out from them, like ask them the question about like, oh, not enough time. Well, I'm sure we could find a little time. What do you got going on? Share with me. And then like that'll give you like the idea of like what they were thinking in terms of, were you looking to book the party for next week or whatever. So From there, if they're still, don't have enough time, don't want to, you can't lock them in for that cooking show, then that's where you can really talk up the flexibility of the book slash Facebook party, which is really doesn't take much time at all to do one of those, and you get the same exact rewards from that. So that was a good one. You got anything else to add to that, Michelle?
I loved when you said find out what it is they're doing with their time. That's the most important part of the objection. Oh, what do you do? And then they explain their life to you. And once you have listened to what they do in their life, you can help find that little spot that you can put the show into.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that if you're just spouting out, oh, everybody can make time. You have to find out what it is they're doing.
Exactly.
And like I said, it might be that next week is a giant 60th birthday party that they're planning. So they're thinking, I don't have time next week, but you can say, hey, how about next month?
Right.
So it's super important.
Right. Did you have one, Jen?
That if you don't know enough people.
That you don't know enough people. Wow.
To invite to a party. Like, oh, I don't have enough friends. I can't get that many people together.
Well, I've done parties for as little as 2 or as many as 38. And trust me, I'll help you with your list. So we can mix the crowd between different circles of friends, through neighbors, you belong to any organizations, how about people you know through your kids. And while you're having this conversation, like she may have a friend standing there with her or another friend not too far away, somebody else in the room like kind of hears this, and then all of a sudden you hear a couple people at the current party going, I'll come to your party, I'll come to your party. And then right there you've got, you can say, you already have some people who said they'd come. It's a party. But if you're not at a party and you're getting that answer, then that's, where you would just totally talk up how you would help them work on their list, suggest to them about mixing the crowd. You don't want to focus on just one circle of friends. You want to mix it, between people that through the neighborhood, if you belong to any organizations, people through your children, your spouse. Even break out the Christmas card list.
Yeah.
That's another one. I mean, it's so funny, you want to have a big party, like an anniversary party, a wedding, big, significant birthday party. That list is easily 50 plus or more in 30 seconds. Right? So we all know more people than we think, really. So that was a good one.
It's all about going back to getting to know them.
Yeah.
So, chat with them, find out if they have children, find out if they're married, find out what activities they're involved in, because then you can help them build that list. Oh, you have kids, what activities do they do? Are they involved in? Do they do sports? Do they do music? Then you can start talking to them about, you can invite the moms of your kids' friends. And you can say stuff like, oh, you're involved in your church. That's awesome. When I did a party, I didn't have any friends in my first party. Honestly, we didn't know very many people here. So what did I do? I invited all the church ladies. They felt sorry for me, and 17 of them showed up. Didn't even know some of their names. But that whole thing is going back to getting to know them before you start giving them advice.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to ask for one more objection.
The one I usually hear is, no, I just went to so-and-so's party last week. So-and-so's having a party soon. Like, they don't want to have a show because someone they know is either already had one or is going to be having one.
Okay, so with that, I would say something like, well, I'm sure you don't know. I'm sure you don't know everybody that you would be inviting would be from that same list. Like all the attendees would be at the same party. And then the other thing is, not everyone gets everything on their wish list from one party. In fact, the average person takes about 5 parties to go to. to almost wipe out that wish list. But then that wish list recycles and grows more because we come out with new products twice a year. So people are always adding to those lists. But the bottom line is with that is, not everybody gets everything they want all at once because we simply just can't afford to, most of us anyway. So
Can I tell a quick story here?
you can.
The
Please
next
do.
week I have these 2 shows, Thursday and Friday night. And when I booked these ladies, it was through phone calls. Like I met them at a show a while ago.
Okay.
I didn't know they were friends with each other, and I booked them back to back, Thursday and Friday night. So I'm working a couple weeks ago on their invitations and stuff like that. And the one on Friday night tells me, I don't think I can have my party. I need to push it because Emily and I are really good friends and we have the same friend list. This is the Friday before Thanksgiving, hottest date of the year. It was not cancel her party. I told Jessica this. I was not letting her cancel her party. I was so mad she was going to cancel her party and move it. So I worked with her and I said, look, are you and Emily next door neighbors? No. Do you work in the same place? No. Are you related? Are you in the same family? No. Okay, that's great. We have plenty of guests for you. Because even though you're in the same friend group, that's probably 6 people, the friend group. It's not like it's everybody she knows.
Right.
She's all worried about it. I said, look, you're going to invite your friend group and Emily's going to invite her friend group because some of them are going to be available Thursday night and some of them are going to be available Friday night. Okay? Because people are busy. Now, you're going to invite all your neighbors. They're not the same neighbors as hers. You're going to invite all of your relatives and all your husband's relatives. They're not the same relatives as hers. You're going to invite all your coworkers. You're going to invite your kids, friends, parents. You're going to invite people you know from church. When I was done with her, she was like, you're right. I need to keep this date. I was like, good. But, here she was all worried. And I thought, crud, I would never have scheduled them back to back if I'd known they were good friends. But really, it worked out. And it taught me a lesson about how to really coach her.
Right. Right. That's actually, that's a really great story. Really, really great story. So you guys feel your objection masters?
It comes with practice. Let's keep practicing.
Definitely comes with practice. So what we'd like you to do over the course of the next week is in your workbooks, you do have this go for no chart, right? Can you see? Can't see. Okay. That's in your workbook. So as you're making your calls, you're going to cross off each time you get a no. So remember that if you don't hear no enough, you're not asking enough people, right? So like I said earlier, for every 10 calls that you make, you're really only going to get that one firm yes out of every 10 calls that you're going to make. So don't get discouraged. Reward yourself as you go along too. After each block of 10 no's that you get. Don't reward yourself for the yeses. Reward yourself for the no's. So that's what this sheet is all about, is tracking all your no's and then rewarding yourself. That could be like just having a Hershey chocolate bar.
That's my favorite reward.
Whatever it may be. So there's some scripts
Gotta be dark chocolate.
attached in here in your workbooks to help you out with making your calls. So not only is your homework to get no's with these phone calls, though, your homework is also to book 6 shows. 6.
Yes.
6. We're going for 6. That's a lot of no's.
$600 paycheck. Probably a $740 in your pocket if you book 6 shows.
Yes.
For an average show, right?
Right.
What could you do with $740?
And guys, honestly, this next week is the most crucial week to make your calls because the following week is Thanksgiving. And honestly, once Thanksgiving hits, people get into that holiday mode, including myself, and I tend to get a little more on the lazy side and laxated. And I'm not on top of everything that I should be. So this upcoming week, it's not only to get 6 shows. We would love to hear that you got 6 parties booked between now and December 31st. But if you can't get them in before December 31st, get them in January, because now is the time to schedule your January, because then, like I said, Thanksgiving rolls around and everybody gets into holiday mode. And those first 2 weeks of December, when you're making calls, it's even harder to get people to commit to a date at that point. So you're going to want to really focus this week and make those phone calls and lock in those dates. And then by the end of next week, text us, either Michelle or myself, a picture of your completed no worksheet and your show dates that you booked. Whether you booked 2, 4, or 6, we want 6, but we'll take 2, 4, or 6, but go for 6. Don't stop. And don't stop at no. And don't get discouraged. After so many calls, you heard those percentages at the end of that no audio. I didn't write them down, but maybe somebody else did. But
I did. To read them to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it said 44% of people give up after hearing the first no. Another 22 give up after hearing no twice. Another 14% give up after hearing no 3 times. Another 12% give up after hearing no 4 times. What this means is 92% of people give up when they hear 4 no's. But people say they generally say no 4 times before they say yes. 60% of people say no 4 times before they say yes. So what I got out of this was only 8% of salespeople are still in the game to collect that 60% of people saying yes.
That's a lot.
Right? Be the 8%. That's what I'm saying, right? We don't like to hear no. It's hard. We have to keep being like the little kid with the cookie. You just have to keep asking because eventually you wear them down.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just not the right time. But if you keep asking, by the 4th time, it is the right time.
Right. Right. So does everybody feel good?
I feel good.
Feel good?
How many no's are on that chart that you have in front of you?
100.
Okay. So we want you to try to fill up that chart this week because, like Jessica said, this is the most important week of the year to get those phone calls done because it's going to be hard to get people on the phone after this week. You could still text them and stuff. But if you can get those 100 contacts made, how many and how many shows are going to be on your calendar? Yes.
10.
10. How are you going to feel if you have 10 shows on your calendar?
Like a rock star, right?
We're going to have a big friggin' party. You get 10 shows on your calendar. That would be awesome. We'll have a big giant party. We'll have to meet halfway between Jess's house and mine. We'll each drive an hour and a half. We'll have a big damn party somewhere.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's right. So, with that, 100 no's. 100 no's. 10 goals. That's what you'll get.
So if you want to do 60, you want to do 6, you have to do 60 contacts. Divide it out by 6 days between now and next Sunday. That's only 10 contacts a day. It's really not that many. Can you figure out how to get 10 contacts in each day?
Yeah.
Text them, private message them, or phone call them.
Absolutely. Awesome.
We good?
So everyone's good? Got your homework assignment? You know what you got to do? Get those no's. Message us the chart and the date of your parties. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Great call.
Awesome.
I'm excited. I'm going to make a whole bunch of phone calls tomorrow. I want
Thank
my
you,
whole
everybody.
January booked.